Welcome back here to ECS. So, a very dominating performance by G2 on the cash, and that might be a bit of a shock to the system here for NiP, but it's time to put it behind them because G2 are going to be coming in very sharp, very dangerously into Dust 2 as well, where they're very capable.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? We didn't even really get to see, I mean, the potential that's in the G2 lineup. It really felt like they were just warming up in that one. It felt like they were just walking completely over an NiP that didn't even seem present on the server for the most part. And as you say, Dust 2, not only are they capable here, this is one of the maps where they can really hit their rhythm, really get into their pace, because it's a map where they have such good routine and they're kind of more basic game style, where they just get those entry frags, you just coordinate into certain areas, get those focus on the trade fragging and so on. That's where that starts really good. And not just that, shox and SmithZz on the AWP here is fantastic. It's probably SmithZz best map for the AWP.
Yeah, I'm actually curious as to who won the knife round, because again, it's NiP are famous for picking the weaker side, or the T side, shall we say, on the first map in a best of 3, but they started on the CT side, and I feel like they're known for their T sides at the moment, and I was looking forward to seeing that. And maybe if they had started on the T side there, they would have given themselves a better, well, they would have been in a better situation, because they got completely run over on the CT side and we saw nothing.
Yeah,
they didn't have a single full buy on their T side, so there was nothing they could do there at all, which is a shame. But again, I mean, G2, I think they've had some up and down results on Dust 2 recently, but shox is he's very much at home on Dust 2. You can see he's still playing at I would say his peak at the moment, although he probably thinks there's still a peak to come.
Oh, always, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think so as well. I think NiP probably lost the knife round. I don't think they're going to be trying to start on the CT side against a team like G2. You want to try to basically crush them straight away, get a really big lead. Because, I mean, G2's CT side is still quite scary on a map like Cash, because on Cash, they can just play simple setups on the bomb sites and just hit their shots, basically. Like, they don't have to play too complicated. Their skill is so good that they can always deliver those. You can always force 1 versus 1s, and that's always going to be dangerous when you're up against aimers such as Scream. I mean, there's that famous clip that everyone is going to remember from, I believe, Valencia, when it was the super old Kinguin lineup against VP. They got the 16-0, and Scream just basically killed the entire team, just getting 1 versus 1s on the B bomb site. It's hard on Cash sometimes to deny those situations. So, yeah. I think NiP probably didn't come off very well in the knife rounds. They're starting CT side here as well. I feel like they probably would want to start on the T side, because G2's T sides are so scary when they're hitting like they are right now. And we saw shox get into his groove and Scream. I think he's only just started getting going. I mean, there was a lot of structure there. I felt like we saw a bit of reservation from G2. So it's time to unleash.
Yeah, I'm really interested, once we get to the end of this match and we'll go to the desk with Scoots and the guys, really interested to see what they think of the lack of aggression from NiP on their CT side when they were down on utility, down on economy, when they had the fan masses coming out, the UMPs and so on. I mean, G2 were looking for it, but I feel like perhaps NiP were just too passive when things weren't working out for them, when they didn't have the utility. I mean, we saw the difference. There was, I remember maybe one round where they had full utility, maybe 2 rounds, and they had a much better hold of the areas. They had late re-smokes coming in towards A main and so on. But when they lack that, then they have problems versus G2. And again, there's no aggressive taking of A main or something like that to kind of make up for that. Yeah,
that's the thing with G2. You want to try to take control of the match away from them. Even if you're on the CT side, when you're playing on the very, very top level, you need to try to really impose your will on the match. Doesn't matter what side you're on. You don't want the other team to be able to run their strategies without hindrance. And on top of that, you've got to take risks. And I think maybe NiP I think it's a combination of them giving a little bit of, maybe a bit too much respect to G2, on top of the fact that they had that bad start, right? They were already down, they lost that first buy round, which was kind of terrible. And also they full eco'd pretty much twice in a row, so they didn't even get really any economic damage to G2. And then they're in a situation where, like, oh, well, we've lost 5 rounds now, let's just not take any risks when we get our buy rounds. But that's when you need to take the risk. You need to go for broke. And if G2 are playing like this, I think they've already set that statement that NiP need to take risks to defeat them. You cannot just play it passively and wait for mistakes.
Yeah, one school of thought is that on the CT sides, you generally take your risks once you have your economy in place, once you have some money. But NiP were never really in that situation where they had like 6K in the bank. They could afford to take a risk and it's like, okay, we can buy in the next run. They were never in there. And I wonder if that was perhaps a factor. They wanted to get their money in the right place. We only saw like a reverse boost come in from them in the last round and a half, for example. So I don't know. We'll have to see what the desk think of that. Maybe Fifth Laren being a previous player can have some insight there. However, obviously with Threat leading and changing everything, then maybe we'll have to ask him later.
Lerpis as well.
Yeah, Lerpis as well. Well, he wasn't an ex-player of NiP.
Well, no, but he was also a professional player at one point. Maybe not in CS:GO, but I'm sure he has some interesting things to say.
Well, that's why we hired him.
That's why we hired him.
One would hope so, Dan. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm really looking forward to this actually, because I'm starting to get get that nervous excitement. Are G2 going to have that resurgence? Because they already showed that, again, that's really crazy a couple of weeks where it's shox and Scream were just out of this world and just like massive amounts of highlights every single game. And we know that they can return to that peak, but it's that that fluctuation, that up and down that's going to just that's going to be happening all the time because of the way that they decide to play the game, the structure they have in the team. But in that cash game, you can see that their structure actually was improved a little bit. They actually had a lot of rounds where they were actually trying to construct stuff off of mid-control. They're trying to play a little bit more complex when it comes to mid-round calls and so on, not just leaving it to super simple. Let's just try to get pick here. It doesn't happen. Let's just go here. Like that's how the old G2 was for a long time. They removed a lot of the kind of strategy, a lot of the crazy tactical plays that we saw out of Existence. I mean, when Existence was in the team, there was a lot of really cool set pieces on certain bomb sites, which were very intricate and very effective when chosen in the right spots. As soon as he left, we haven't seen this iteration of G2 ever go to those things. Even though they all know how to do them, they just don't want to play that kind of style.
Yeah, but I think they've maybe taken some of the best parts of Existence's strats. You saw all those Molotovs flying in towards the B bomb site, for example. That's really great to see from G2. If you have a team where they're going to go for a bit more freestyle, but they can have the attention to detail when they need it, then they're going to be very dangerous indeed. So they're just getting into the knife round now, and the game will soon be underway. And if you're an NiP fan, you've got to be really nervous at the moment. Again, I think most people would have expected a 1-0 start here for NiP, but if it goes to 3 maps, then who do you favor taking it?
Yeah, it's completely up in the air at this point, isn't it? Especially with that 1 map in the bag for G2. NiP always, they've been very capable when it comes to the Dust 2s. They did have a bit of a hard time on it for quite a while when they were slumping pretty hard towards 2015. But they started working on it a lot recently, and it's become one of those better maps for them. And so against G2, they should match up fairly well, but I do feel like it's so much more comfortable. It's such a good map inherently for G2's style. All right,
so we are very soon to start this match. If it goes to Cobblestone, then things will get really interesting, and perhaps NiP will have some more confidence behind them, but you have to wonder if they're a bit shaken after such a performance in the previous round. So there's a quick last tactics there, and they're going to get their heads in the game, and they should be good to go. Do you favor a team going into this?
I think G2 is heavily favored after that initial performance. I mean, NiP losing what is stated to be their best map. I feel like when you have a team like NiP, the best map is only the best map until everyone starts to veto it and they never get to play it anymore, because at that point it's not really as relevant. But because if they have to shore up other maps, that's something we talked about earlier. But at the same time, yeah, NiP, they're going to be very confident on cash. So to lose that straight away, that gives things, that puts the ball massively into G2's court. They're going to be very confident moving forwards. They look really focused. Right now it's, let's not forget it as well. Yesterday, NiP was struggling too. NiP haven't been looking amazing as of late, in the last week or two. So they've got a lot to answer for, I think.
How many liters of water do you think you can get into that trophy? It's a pretty big trophy.
I'm going to say 4.5. Is this one of those like little quizzes? You send in the answer and then they send you. Like
I was going to get there, Dan.
Teddy bear.
But you just ruin everything, don't you? Anyway, there's a technical issue, so we're going to go to a quick break while that gets resolved. We will see you soon, and then maybe we will continue the talk about the water in the trophy. All right, so we should be good to resume. So I think we could have an ongoing conversation about this trophy and how many liters of water we can get into it a bit later on, Dan, as we should be shortly getting into Dust 2 between these two teams. So I think with the momentum that G2 have at the moment, they should be a hot favorite, although NiP are very strong on Dust 2 as well. They have a lot of tactics up their sleeve. Maybe we haven't seen all of them yet. I think it's very unlikely that we have, considering the major is just around the corner, Dan, and you have to wonder if they will bring out the kitchen sink. Now they are in a very bad spot versus G2.
Yeah, they need that good start for sure, and will we see that typical aggression on Catwalk? Looks like actually no will be the answer. They're going to just play quite passively in middle. Although GetRight has himself a forward position, he might get a bit of an altercation as RpK was thinking about pushing there. But we get the smoke onto short. This is something we're seeing quite commonly now, to deny the very, as I mentioned, the very common opener from the CT side, to push short with two players, to stand in the spot where the smoke is and get information for free. And instead, the Ts can boost up, get very close to the CTs, and have favorable engagements. And right now, GetRight is playing with fire here, a lot of fire, because there's 3 or 4 players right there in front of him, looking to shoot straight back. So risky business early on, but GetRight finds nothing. G2 find nothing. And now G2 are up on Catwalk, so get some positioning here. There you go. GetRight picks up the first frag. RpK goes down in middle, and here comes the push. It's like headshots here coming in for NiP, and it's going to be a fast one after all. Very nicely done.
Headshots for days here for NiP, barely being touched. Only GetRight took 10 damage there. So that is a very strong answer to G2. Very strong indeed, and that's the kind of confidence we need to see coming into game 2 here from NiP. Got the FAMASs coming out, going straight for the big guns for the most part. They've got enough to get some grenades as well, and I think part of that might be the fact that because only GetRight got tagged there, anyone who had Kevlar will get their helmet for $350, Dan, which means they've got $650 to get some more grenades out. So that's a very significant thing to note. 2 people taking long here for NiP. We've got initial map control coming in for G2, who have gone for the full force buy here, including Smith the AWPer. Everybody looking to do massive damage to the economy of NiP early on.
All those nades starting to slowly go away here for NiP, but they should be still more than enough to deal with G2. Now, Forest is in a dangerous position. Nice little nade there, but damage into Smith. Here comes Tech9, just playing with Forest at the moment. He's gonna have a bit of information, spots a couple players. That's very solid information for NiP right now. It's going to force Forest back a little bit. And G2 now need to commit to something, and it looks like they are going to choose long. And who do we have there? It is Friberg with a FAMAS.
They've got 0 grenades, the T side. They don't even have a flashbang, so it's definitely going to be safety in numbers. But look at that choke point. They're running through a cover, Dan, but they've made it through for the most part with a team kill coming in there. 3 people still in a long position, so they've got themselves some map control. They've only got 1 person on short for the split here. That's a nice headshot from Scream onto the right team this time. And they are getting closer to the side. The bomb goes down though, and these rifles coming in. More headshots from RpK now. GetRight's the only man standing. What's going on there? There are 3 Ts left here, and that is a very unlikely round one. They had no grenades. They had no grenades.
No grenades, but we saw a lot of missed shots there. I mean, you can see Xizt went to panic mode immediately as soon as he realized that Friberg went down there and he was caught between 2 spots. I think we saw just an unusual amount of panic there, and he just wasn't hitting his shots and committing to those engagements correctly, and the entire defense just fell apart. And NiP, after that first map, this is not the way this is supposed to go. Now we've got the scouts out in numbers here. We've got 1 for either side, as NiP are going to try to invest in something to get bit of damage in, but it's G2 here looking to push this A-long area. We've got GetRight with a frag. Friberg's in there with the Deagle. Flash, very nicely timed flash, but Friberg can't get anything from that, and oh, he gets some good damage here, but no frags. They need kills at this point. Xizt will find a lot of players, the bulk of the push coming in, and there is a flank from NiP, but it's going to be too late here. G2 with good pace, but they are getting low on health, and getting some frags here from NiP.
Well, the numbers are quickly disappearing now. Xizt Forest gets sent away, leaving GetRight alone, and SMGs at range have much bigger damage fall-off than the rifles do. Smith is close enough though, but can't get finished off. Double peek now coming in for the Ts, but GetRight still manages to get the kill there. Only 30 HP remaining, and he's coming to move in with the CZ there. Stop Scream from getting the crossfire, but Scream will stop GetRight permanently in that round. Another round on the board here for G2. So a good start for NiP, soon fell away though. But again, they need to keep their heads level. There's still an entire game to be played here.
Yeah, absolutely. We see better individual performances from NiP, and that's a big problem if they can't get going in that sense. G2 are going to walk over them, all over them, and well, their buy is certainly far superior. Get pretty much the full save from NiP. Xizt and a P250 as we get shox spawning. About 2 or 3 players there, and that's going to be the easy call straight into the B-bomb site. Easy entry frag there for Scream against Get Right, and that should be more or less the round, as all the CTs are very much out of position. And well, we should see them trying to set up to find exit frags here, because they don't have any investment. They might as well try to get some damage in. Even 1 kill is going to be a cost-effective situation, but a full spray down almost from shox. 3 frags. He's going to be happy with that one. Pick going to try to steal away this AK-47. Can he get anything else done with it? The aim punch is going to ruin him. And there is the frag for SmithZz. 3-1. NiP in a lot of trouble. Can they bounce back on their first buy?
We will see what kind of buy they can muster as well. That is a very nice garden hose play here by shox. 3-man spray down. We'll be happy with that. Just running out of bullets at the end there. It was quite handy that SmithZz, I don't think he had a rifle actually, so he collected it afterwards. So we see the AWP onto Pit. Again, we see a lack of grenades here for NiP. A bunch of smokes, a bunch of flashes. We commonly see loads of fast short plays from CTs on this map, but no such play on this occasion here. We have Friberg in the pit now, trying to hold down along with his teammates. So far, so good, only pit speed lost, and they've taken the bomb down, and 3 players with it. So a nice hold so far. That's a very important headshot as well. Get Right goes down towards the mid area, but it's RpK alone with a FAMAS. Very nice kill to Forest though, and he will finally get finished off. It would have been really key for Forest to survive there, but it will be 2 people surviving for NiP, so an expensive round, and indeed their economy will remain fragile.
Yeah, I was going to say actually that with RpK, all he needed to do there was just get a couple kills, and that's exactly what he did. NiP's money is very, very at risk at this point. Same for G2, of course, but they're going to be feeling a lot better about themselves, already having that map in the bag. And SmithZz has a good timing here for a pick onto long. Will he get it, though? Very good timing indeed. He's going to get there first, in fact. And there it is. SmithZz connects. Friberg's down, and that's a quick frag there for G2. And they got a lot of time to play with as well. That is such a brilliant situation for the T side. They can really take their time on this one now and try to understand how to attack NiP, because NiP are going to be weak now. They're going to have to spread the defense across 4 players. Get Right's only on a Xizt as well. This really does look quite poor here for NiP. They're going to take a gamble, give up long, and take over short.
So they've got a lurker outside long here for G2. They've got a lot of options available to them with this pick. You can see they still have control of the B halls as well. They can opt to go for a short split of the site, or just leave somebody long, try and cut off any rotations or any aggression, but aggression's not something we've seen much of on the CT side of NiP so far. G2 now, time is starting to run a bit short. Very nice flash there, perfect angle to force Pit from his position. Takes a gamble shot, so that gives info to G2 as well as to where the AWP is. Forest now he gets damaged, but nothing at all there. 3 versus 5 now, and G2 still with their options available to them, going for the split maybe towards B. Had somebody poke their head through double doors there, but seems all the G2 guys almost will be in the B bomb site now. Time running out, the bomb still needs to go down. Get Right makes his way and gets a lot of information, but there's not much to be done here with 3 players for NiP, and they probably want to go for a save because a 3 versus 5 retake is very unlikely indeed. There is a massive flank coming in as well from none other than shox, so the save may be quite problematic for NiP. You can see they're looking for it. Maybe Xizt heard him jump down. That is a very, very important frag here for NiP. They have to hold on to these weapons.
Yeah, and even picking up a weapon there is... the AK goes on to Xizt, and, well, this is really problematic for NiP, just because of the fact that they really needed to win this round and to win it very effectively with a lot of players alive, because, again, both teams were broke at the beginning of this round. So now G2 get to have a bit of buffer of money because they survive with enough players, so they can afford to lose a round and buy again. And NiP, I mean, they're likely going to have to force buy along with these weapons to just try to make something happen at this point. But it does really feel like NiP are playing against the odds at the moment. It feels like they're not at their full strength, and they're having to fight internally a little bit to pull out those performances that they need to deal with G2. Now we've got the 4-2 situation as G2 got the AWP still on Smith. I think he's got a really good timing again here towards B. He's going to be looking for that fast play in. Will he find the entry frag? No one across. You can see that the rest of the team was with Smith. If he made the pick there, they're just going straight in. But because he didn't get the pick, because the smoke went down, oh, they're going to hold on then. Well, there you go. Gerro picks up something. Finally, a bit of fortune in favor of the Swedish side. A frag through the smoke for GetRight. And again, we got a couple CZs here, Forest and Friberg on those CZs. We'll see G2 now looking to take over the short area. shox has got some presence there, and in doing so, they're going to give themselves some more options in the round, especially considering that they committed kind of heavily in the tunnels very early on.
G2 just moving around the map, trying to be as quiet as possible. With a man disadvantage, they want minimal warning here for the CTs, but again, you can see the difficulty here. NiP have 2 players on CZs at the moment, and that is not going to be ideal, especially for duels at range versus AKs. pyth seems to have a read on the situation, trying to slow down, trying to ruin the timing here of G2. We have 35 seconds left on the clock, a nice flash to stop pyth, and shox jumps into CT spawn as well, but where is the bomb headed? We've got NiP players all over the place. We've got Friberg top mid, but there's not much he can do at the moment. Forest playing close here with the CZ. Can't get a frag onto bodyy though, and GetRight has 2 versus 1. He will get traded. So 2 versus 3. Scream with all of 2 HP though, and pyth is not prepared for shox. Gets taken down in CT spawn, and Friberg finds himself alone. Maybe he can collect a weapon from somewhere, but there's not much else he can do with the CZ.
Yeah, I was going to say, they really need to try to go for it, but then shox comes in, gets that flank kill, and that's pretty much all she wrote then in this round, unless Friberg can get something, but no, shox immediately takes him down, picks up an ult for his troubles, and another round for G2, looking very, very dominant so far. And NiP, once again crushed when it comes to the money. They're all around $2,000 to $2,900. That's really not enough, and even with that early round advantage, you can see it was a bit of a struggle, to be fair as well. NiP didn't have really any grenades, they had 2 players on CZ, so always seemingly playing from behind their NiP on both maps. Oh no! I mean, okay,
in the face.
At the very least, it's an eco round, so that's not going to sting quite as hard, but that is going to feel great for Smith.
It always stings when you take it in the face, Dan. 2 people on the short area for the CTs. But again, not much to really be done here, and it seems that G2 are about to take the B-bomb site very quickly indeed. Scream's waiting for somebody to peek here. I'm not going to overextend, but surely people will start to stream in there at some point. Seems G2 just waiting for the rotation to come in, and indeed, their positioning has paid off. bodyy getting taken down, but again, it's pyth, the last man standing here. Jumping P250, can't expect much to be done. If he can get second kill, that's the bomb as well. And now he's got position here. Needs to get himself nice taps and pyth. Are you serious? What is that? How?
pyth's godlike, man. That was a fantastic play. The ace out of nowhere into Kevlar. This guy, that's what NiP needed. That's what could, that maybe could get them going. I mean, they needed a lot to get them going. That was a lot, I think. Here we go.
That is completely ridiculous, and you see it has really got the spirits up in the NiP camp. And in the words of maybe a Frenchman, Dan, c'est quoi ça? What the hell's going on?
Wow, that is so cool to see pyth gets going, and now Smith is up there with the AWP still. It's a good buy for G2. NiP finally have a lot of grenades. They've got an AWP, they've got armor, they've got kits, they've got everything. Must feel like Christmas for them at this point. Now we've got Forest there with the middle control, or just the look in there to see what's going on. And shox will be able to control short here for G2. And will he do the classic shox? Will he get the shoxy on, which is just run in and kill everyone? That's doing the shoxy, James. Run in by yourself and kill everyone. So Xizt is going to try to reposition now. They've lost control of middle, generally speaking, at NiP, and this makes them a little bit weaker to defend the B splits. That said, Xizt is coming back now, and with Forest in this position, maybe they can actually post the defense, but Forest needs to get a kill. He gets nothing. Scream is in with 2 frags as Xizt runs in through the smoke as well, and just like that, NiP have been crushed once again. They are forced to save.
Yeah, I mean, things look really hard for NiP at the moment. Firstly, G2 are just winning the duels for the most part, and when they have these duels, G2 often have the extra man there as well. So worst case scenario, they trade, which is always going to be important on the T side, and it's working well for G2 despite the last round, very unexpected beasting by pyth, but it's only got them so far. Again, they're in a situation where they need to hold on to these weapons. And are we going to see a double peek coming in, or just the high ground there? A leg shown, bit of leg shown by Scream. Friberg's in position for a bit of crossfire though. So pyth may be able to hold on to this just yet. 2 rifles saved here by the Swedish side. We'll see what they can do with their money in the next round. It is a very difficult situation for them.
Yeah, I mean, they need not only pyth to go nuclear, but they need GeT_RiGhT and f0rest to start to picking up their game as well as Xizt. You know, everybody on NiP right now, they're just hitting a little bit below their weights, and we've got a bit of a pause coming in. And right now, you know, 6-3 NiP, showing that there is some fight in them, but they are consistently on the back foot. We saw that previous round where they finally had a really sick buy, but G2 completely dismantled them, and that's a really big issue. I mean, when it comes to, you know, how much NiP need to get done on this first half, I guess they're, you know, around halfway there, but I really feel like they need to get at least those 6 rounds, otherwise G2, it's just going to be too easy for them.
Friberg's got 4K in the bank there, so there's a situation. There are decisions to be made. He could drop a rifle for his team. They can have 3 rifles and some pistols, or maybe an SMG. And if they choose to do that, then for example, they can go. They'll have to go for some aggression. Surely, perhaps they go for a 2-man B push, try and get some early advantages over there, or I don't know what else. Maybe a short push as well. Yeah, short pushes obviously being the most common ones here for the CT side, and the current Dust 2 meta. So we will see what they choose to do. Some more discussions being had by the team. 3-6 in favor of G2 at the moment. They have had their full buy come in already, having won the previous round. And the team and the NiP have not strung a single round together. They won the pistol, lost 3, won a round, lost 2, won a round, lost 1. So again, just living with really difficult times here are NiP, and indeed they are going for the buy. So we have 3 rifles coming out for NiP, having saved 2, bought the 3rd. And I do wonder what kind of push we're going to see from NiP. Is it going to be a 2-man push through B? Are they going to go for the 2-man push on short? There's a lot of things they can choose to do. The unpause has come in, so we will find out very shortly.
I just like that NiP are using a pause, you know, only into round 10, because obviously they are having issues. A lot of teams could just use an eco round to just say, okay, let's discuss it now. But we're going to see them actually taking the pause pretty much immediately. It's that 10th round. So that's cool. Almost, well, it's very rare that you see it so early, but let's see how they use it. Of course, we do have quite a lot to work with here. We've got a bit of aggression coming in on Catwalk from NiP. That's kind of where the initial play is from them. And speaking of initial play, Smith's back at it again there towards tunnels, denied by the smoke. Won't get sprayed through the smoke this time around though, so he's probably very thankful for that. But here goes shox. He's going to meet pyth on the angle. Oh, and pyth will actually be able to connect the shot, but somehow shox returns a lot of damage there. So it's an even trade. And NiP starting to feel the pressure here. Looks like G2 want to just walk into B, and this could be really scary for NiP because they've actually begun to abandon the B bomb site. They don't have anybody in plateau. They've got 2 outside the doors, but they're going to be kind of out of position here to defend. They're right with the first frag, but get trades coming back here, and is it going to be good enough? 3 versus 3, there's a lot to be done here by NiP, but they can get something done. That is really nice for them. Usually they get shut out, but there is a chance for them to get the retake going.
pyth almost spotting a player there. He could go for a gamble towards double stack, but he's going to take down Smiths on the high ground instead. Very nicely done. Man advantage now, and we've got shox very out of position here. He's always trying to wait for these flanks to come in, but he has to help his teammate. RpK is alone. The Molotovs are going to start to fly in as well. That's going to limit the positions he can hold at the moment, but it's going to be a bit awkward for the CTs to push as well. The smoke starts to fly in for the T side. RpK takes on Friberg as he tries to push him with smoke. A flash story. shox in the smoke itself, and he's going to dance around it. RpK and shox to hold. I don't know. I think that Molotov came in for the CTs there, and surely it didn't go in the right position because it stopped them pushing the window and ruined the timing there. I'm guessing they were trying to get it on part of the bomb site to eliminate a position from being held by the Ts, but a 2v3 hold works there for G2. That's a very important round, and it's going to put NiP straight on an eco in a round where they bought and only had 3 rifles.
Oh yeah, and so right now, you know, that 7-3 it's starting to get a little bit scary here again. G2 starting to take too much away from NiP. Go for the fast anti-eco straight into that B-bomb site. Flordy gets tagged there, but he's got plenty of teammates to help him out. And that's going to be the B-bomb site pretty much taken here. There's just 2 more players to deal with. Just a USP, surely. There's not much to be done with these, we should think, but pretty good positions. Headshot starting to come in, and oh, there you go. Damage here from Xizt. We do get the trades coming in. As Friberg holds on. But he's the only one now, and he will finally be eliminated. Actually, somehow only losing a single player for G2, but 8-3 before NiP can post the buy, but the buy will come in now as they have about $5K to do it with, so they can get a lot of nades in with these M4s, but there's no AWP, and that's a big problem. Not having an AWP on a map like Dust 2 on the CT side it has a lot of utility, especially in defending bomb sets like the A side.
You know, I'm wondering if they were trying to do Bardolph Molotov down and messed it up, because it definitely went in the wrong place. Well, we've got shox dropping a smoke on the corner of long there to just try and hold some players in that direction, and indeed, we will have 2 players held in long for the time being. Mind games being played by G2. But that kind of smoke may stop a potential short push coming in for NiP if they're scared, or it might cause an abandon of long altogether. There's a lot of things it could potentially do. Definitely is a bit of harassment there. No short push on this occasion here from NiP. Again, it's a passive hold. Didn't work out on Cash. Hasn't been great on Dust 2 either. G2 will take their initial map control. In the rounds where they did have Pit aggressively with the AWP, didn't really get the lethal kills he needed, so maybe a different approach is in order. We have Xizt over towards the car position. He might be in for a bit of action very soon. We have the execute coming in. Are we going to see a CT drop from one of these players on the T side? A has been taken. You can see Pit playing around the smoke, maybe waiting for somebody to drop in. They are on a ramp. Good first kill there onto screen. Pit taking pot shots now on CT spawn. There's good real estate here for NiP on the retake, although Get Right was taken down trying to move into short.
There you go, shox looking for the challenge. Wow, Forrest gets the frag there, and all of a sudden we got problems here for G2, but the bomb is still taken away. And RpK gets shot on the side of the face. SmithZz down for only a frag. And NiP are able to take the round with the defuse there. So nicely done in the end, but still a lot more work to be done by them. And right now I'm starting to wonder if they're going to get to a spot where they're going to feel comfortable to take aggression as a CT side, because you know there are always ways to do it as the CTs on this map, but again, I think it does come into play a little bit what you were talking about before, where NiP have never really had a round advantage, an economy advantage. They've never really felt safe to take risks like that. So I have to see if G2 can reset them, or if they can finally string more than one round together, which has been the problem so far.
4 rounds on the board so far, and there aren't that many rounds left in the first half here, so we'll see if NiP can get a bit more of a respectable score before we move into their T side. You can see Pit just holding a flashbang for Friberg in case he needed one, but there will be no initial challenge here from G2. Still have players in T spawn at the moment, maybe just looking for any cheeky peeks. Smith will go for a short smoke. That's going to land on the Xbox to stop any would-be riflers from seeing anything or taking players down, unless they gamble. Gamble shoot through the smoke. More harassment coming in general from the T side. Molotov to stop anyone from being in that blind spot there through the doors as they move into the short position. Very carefully, very meticulous with all these flashbangs. Bit of a team flash there, but won't cause too much harm. And NiP, having lost Friberg, they're not in a great position at all here over towards the A bomb site. Scream dropping a smoke towards CT spawn, so seems a ramp push is going to come in again. That could be a nice HE, but it's a little bit too early here. shox getting taken down by Forrest, so 4 versus 4 now.
Yeah, here they go. We've got a great position here from Pit, and that's what I was talking about. The AWP is pretty strong in this position. Oh, that's a fantastic shot from Scream, so needed as well. 3 versus 3 now as the AWP is out of play there for NiP, and G2 have overwhelmed that A-bomb site, forced NiP into a retake position. Where will we get the plan here? Oh, Get Right be able to get something before his teammates come in. He's going for it, but a 2 versus 1 goes to Scream, and now it gets really bad here for NiP. Bomb is down. Xizt and Forrest start to make their way in. But now it's just Xizt. SmithZz with that AWP, he's doing well. Xizt trying to find something here, but his position is very poor, and Scream takes the headshot. Scream with very important frags that round. That first frag against Pit on the AWP, that was very critical. He's playing well.
For those of you at home as well, you see once the bomb goes down for G2, they have 2 people charging straight back to short to take control of it. It's very important to try and put bodies in the short position once you get the bomb down rather than all stay on the site. It's very hard to hold a site in that situation. But if you can take one of the 2 positions away from the CTs, then it makes their life very difficult indeed. So very strong to push with a numbers advantage as well and retake the short position. And we see NiP on one of a great many eco rounds that we've seen so far in these 2 maps. G2 once again headed towards double figures. We've got a boost here to look over the smoke, but nobody's engaging there just yet. G2 taking the range advantage here with 3 people coming down long with the bomb as well. They've got great positions over towards B and mid to stop any flanks coming in from NiP. So again, difficult times to be had here. SmithZz though needs to thin out these numbers before they get too close. And indeed we have some Super Mario Brothers going on through the door, but SmithZz is hitting the lethal shots here, so there will be no threat from NiP. Just 2 USPs remain in this round, and there goes one of them.
Yeah, I mean, Scream is, I think he's 16 for 5 right now, or 15 for 5. He's having a good game, and that's always going to be an issue. Smith's connecting right at the end there, so 10 to 4, and this problem for NiP where they can't get more than 1 rounds in a row is just that's just.
They won't do that.
Yeah, of course, it's not going to happen. You're not going to win a match if that's the way that your CT side goes, and that was happening to them on Cash as well. There was another issue there, so I'm really wondering, where are the problems for them? It'd be great to, hear the thoughts of them after this match. Let's see if they can turn things around on this last round of the first half of Dust 2. We've got the standard default coming out from G2, just spreading themselves out a little bit. Smith's holding down middle for the early portion of the round, and we have also tunnels taken over outside of A long, as well as the eventual take of middle, Xbox and short. So just a standard default here from G2, but they're against very limited weaponry, very limited grenades from NiP. NiP are going to need a miracle to win this round.
G2 posturing around the middle doors there, but are they going to go for the push? See the pop flashes coming in, Pitch ready. He will hear these sounds over towards short. He can raise the alarm for his teammates, but again, they don't have the equipment to really stop the push from coming in. There's no AWP. They don't even have 5 rifles here. Get right down to the CZ. We've got UMPs as well. So this is really difficult times here for NiP. G2 doing a great job of ruining that economy. Short plant coming in, and bear in mind, look at the map control here. They're keeping the position over towards short for the time being. But again, they have the range advantage on this occasion, so they can afford to be on the site because of the weak weaponry here. They know NiP have no money. They're coming in with the FAMASs, but they're getting thinned out now. There is a frag onto the CT side, though, and shox is heavily tagged here. There goes bodyy as well, so trouble ahead for NiP, for G2, sorry.
And that's not for long, it would seem, as they have great positions, and there's nothing that can be done. NiP, they played it smart. They gave up the bomb site. They took control of long to just play for that retake, but it just wasn't going to happen. 11 to 4, NiP still the storyline for them, not able to string more than a single round together before getting reset constantly. What a horrible way to start things off for them, and they're going to be going into that T side a little bit better than the previous map where they lost 12-3 in the first half. But they need to win that pistol and need to not lose on the following round, which is what happened in the last match again. So NiP, they are a great T-sided team. And
when given the opportunity.
True, very true, yeah. That has been the issue. Has definitely been the issue.
All G2 have done so far is take opportunity away from NiP. Can they continue to do that here on the pistol round? Scream using the range, and that's not really a duel that Forest can afford to take. They may want to just spot and see what the CTs are up to. You see that short smoke coming in, but Scream cares not for that. He's going to hold a very nice angle there with no fear about lower tunnels coming in, and there's nobody there for the T side. The push begins here from NiP towards short.
Yeah, everybody is going to get themselves up onto short here indeed, and they can start to... And that's the first step in closing the distance on this A-bomb site where shox is, but they still have to leap over the hurdle that is shox with this USP, and he's got teammates with him as well. RpK in with some frags as well. Looking great here for G2. 4 versus 3 for them as they continue to hold on to things here. RpK is going to just fall back onto long, and they'll play for the retake, but they have the man advantage. The bomb goes down though for NiP. That is something, but they need to get some frags. This is not happening. Forest against the world now. 1 versus 4 as an engagement against too many players, and that's going to be the round for G2. But there is money in the bank for NiP. They have options now. Save and AKs, which is nice. or the set piece. And I presume we're going to see probably the AKs, actually. It's marginal.
Yeah, I think this might be a difficult map to have a successful force buy in this situation.
Yeah.
But they're going to go for it, it seems. We've got the scout coming out immediately here for Forest. So I hope there is a plan, and it will need to be significant here for NiP if they want to take this round over the line. They're going for the gamble, Dan.
Is it going to be that, the classic short push, the set piece with the wall of smokes? That's the most common play usually in a position like this, especially from a team like NiP.
Well, we will soon find out. Scream getting tagged through the door. That's a good start. But they will need a good finish. Otherwise, they are going to be in a very dire situation. 2 plays over towards long here for the CT side. NiP just weathering the initial storm at the moment. There are smokes in long, smokes over towards B. And they will hold angles and make sure there's no push here from the CT side. Now Xizt leading the charge towards short with the 1 AK on the team.
Yeah, I've got a feeling it's going to be that wall of smokes. They've got the 3 smokes there. That's what you need. You need the 3 smokes, 2 on the bomb site, 1 on the crossover. But they are biding their time. And the reason they need to do that is because they need to make the round look... I mean, they need to play the default there, which creates obscurity, which means G2 don't know exactly what they're doing. If they just went with the play immediately, there's so many tells G2 can position themselves. They have more grenades in the round. So NiP waits. And here it comes. Looks like they're going to go for it.
Well, let's see. It seems Xizt trying to get a read on what exactly is going on. Got some flashes going in. Oh, they've messed up one of the smokes, I think. Let's have a look. That is, I don't know if that smoke's supposed to be there, but let's see if they can make the round work here. The bomb plant starting to come in. shox is close to the site. Gonna get headshot though. But there are trades here for both sides now. And it's a 3 versus 3 at the moment. Make that 2. RpK goes down. There's still an M4 on the screen. That's very important. Got Smith closing the distance. Gets a heavily tagged player here with the MP7. He's got the range, but needs to reload. Can't do it in time. So it's down to Scream. That's not a good situation for NiP here. But Scream can't get the edge shots, and NiP will indeed take the round.
That's really nice. I really love how NiP had the confidence to play the default there, because there's always a really big risk that when you play the default, especially with such poor equipment, that you can actually lose a player before you get that play coming in. And you need every single grenade there. If someone dies you as nades before you can make that push, it's really tough. But you can see that G2, because NiP played the default out and spread everyone out, made it look like a normal round, they just didn't know in time of, what was going to happen. And well, we're going to have a save from G2. We don't see that too much in this series, so we'll have to see if they can cause some havoc, because they picked up 3 deagles, and bodyy and shox are pretty prolific with them so far that I've seen in this tournament, at least. And SmithZz has 1 as well. Scream on a 5-7 with Kevlar. So there's a lot of danger here, actually, for NiP.
Yeah, they've got to be really careful. Very good that Pit waits for that smoke to come down before peeking lower tunnel. He knows it's a danger. Again, I think it's G2 who often flash that position. shox, though, getting off to a good start there. He'll take that kill and get the hell out of there. And NiP are going to have to spend some time and some grenades, some utility, clearing out the short position. Although it seems Forest might have a read that the CTs have since exited. They're concentrating the forces elsewhere now. Got a player going over towards long as NiP gather towards the short area here, but there's going to be many guns focused on their position. It might be a bit of a fish in a barrel situation. The Molotov zone trying to force the CTs from said pot shot positions. shox has got 3 people to just find 1 bullet on, and indeed it's going to be get right to go down. 3 versus 3 now, and NiP will find themselves with the range advantage. RpK is close to the 5-7, can't get any work done. Scream and bodyy remain.
Still danger though, as these pistols come in. Scream will get taken down, and they will be cleaned up in the end. That was quite scary, actually, because G2, they actually did quite a cool little play there. After shox got that initial kill, they made this read, or this gamble, where they actually pushed everybody immediately out of the short position into long. All 3 into long, because they were presuming that perhaps NiP were going to play what is one of the more standard anti-eco strategies, which is through long. So, and had NiP gone through there, G2, because they predicted it, they were actually in place in time, and they probably would have won the round. So G2 showing a lot of forward thinking, but they're back to another save, and this is where NiP can really start to build some money. Get Right's working on that, picks up the first kill there. shox goes down, and there's a couple more players as well to be killed, but they are starting to close the distance themselves a little bit. And you can see Get Right is not liking that engagement anymore. He's going to back out of there and perhaps leave these players to their own devices, but they seem to want to push him.
Yeah, it's really smart by Get Right. He's just trying to avoid being pre-flagged there, constantly changing his position, backing off to more passive angles. We can see Smith hears the reload coming in there and tries to punish him for it, unable to do so. And the duel will continue between these two players. And this time he has a player. See again, you see Smith's trying to come out and punish the reloads, but there's another player in there. So a little mind game going on between NiP and Smith there. It's won so far by NiP. For us to finish off with 2 headshots, so NiP are in a good position now that they can actually buy things. That's always nice, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. Buying stuff is great. Well, it's the AWP on Smith again, and I'm quite curious. You know, he used to have a bit of a reputation on this map on the CT side with this AWP, where he would just challenge middle every single round. It's just throw a flashbang over the top of the doors and then go for the peak. And he was actually weirdly consistent with that. Typically inconsistent play. But it's going to go for the safer play, which is just go straight towards long and not challenge Forest. And that is good. I like to see that. All the nades here for NiP. Another default opening from them. It's hard to predict exactly how the round is going to be built. It's going to come up to, it's going to depend. I mean, part of the point of a default is to gather information yourself to inform you of the play that you're going to make, as well as make it more obscure for the CTs. And so let's see if they get something here before they are forced to make a move. So far, though, G2 are quite passive, so looks like NiP aren't going to get much in the opening stages of the round. shox is playing a position where he can quickly give attention towards middle if necessary, and he can get crossfires with Scream to defend against B-splits, but so far he's just going to get information there on the boost box towards shorts.
What's interesting is it's common for people to stand on the bricks on short to shoulder peek the goose position, because if there's an AWPer there, you're more likely to get shot in the leg, and that's where shox's position is important, because if someone tries to do that, he can shoot him in the face. So that's part of the plan he has. So obviously, if someone's going for a cat drop as well, then he can try and stop that execute into A, along with Smith's. And we see the players coming in though, but he's going to miss completely because of the flashbang there, and Smith is going to get wrecked.
Yeah, this is one of the classic NiP set pieces there. They have the Molotov, which should go on the crate for the crossover, and they're getting all the frags as well. Really nicely done by NiP, exploding onto that set piece. And one thing we didn't see in Vision there, which should have been a part of the set piece, was again this cool Molotov that they throw, which deals very effectively with this problem position where they get it on top of the crate on the site, which stops the players who are on the immediate position behind the crate, which is on the crossover, where you can kind of play headshot angles. And typically from that position as a CT, you can delay massively with that. So very important, and it works wonderfully here for NiP. Clean round pretty much, apart from bodyy, taking out some players on the hunt. He's doing pretty well actually. 2 frags, he might be able to get another one. Here comes Pitt. And Pitt did get the kill there, so bodyy did go down in the end. But only 2 players will be surviving in that round for NiP. So let's see how that affects them. Well, their money's very good, which is, well, it explains why they decided to invest so much there. So 12-8, NiP starting to climb back here, but it's still in a bit of a road to go. And they are going to be, taking G2 into these rounds where they are saving, so they're making their lives a little bit easier. Apparently stringing rounds together is pretty good.
4 rounds behind are NiP at the moment. Again, they've got a good opportunity to close that gap yet more. Although there are deagles on the map, and that is never good if you are the other side. See pot shots being taken. shox is heavily tagged, and that's a good thing for NiP. Hopefully for them they can finish him off before he can do too much damage. There is a whole load of utility here for NiP to force these players from their positions. Nasty nades coming into the middle area. Pitt's not going to overextend. There could be somebody behind the door. Could be somebody in the blind spot to his left as well. So I think he checked that spot. Friberg holding the angles, crossing the I's, dotting the T's. Crossing the T's down, dotting the I's, definitely. If you want to pass your exams, I do recommend doing that. 4 players left here for G2. NiP just biding their time. A minute on the clock, so they have lots of time to play with. Just going to slowly creep. That bomb being dropped.
Ooh! Damn.
I felt that one. You've always got to be careful about dropping the bomb on the floor, because it's very loud and it can give away your plans. And I don't think they meant to do it here, but he's got more shots coming in from Scream. How many more can he find? He's got time to... No, he hasn't. He's going to get taken down here. That's really good for NiP. Smith has picked up an AK though, and now Smith is the last man standing, so he may want to try and hold on to this. Always better to have an AK than it is to have an M4. He'll try and get some early damage in, and the gun will be lost. So 3 rounds now between G2 and NiP.
Very nice there from G2, getting a bit of extra kills in there with the Deagle play. Boom.
Ooh, stop.
Very nice.
Stop the violence and vote. Although it's too late, Dan. The votes have been counted already.
So 12-9, and 2 orbs come out for G2. You're going to mix things up a little bit. Bodyy and Smith, actually, instead of Smith and shox. And Bodyy's going straight towards B, and Smith is going to be towards the A-long area. So, you know, spreading out the orbs quite a bit there. And we'll see, you know, whether or not G2 can get opening defensive kills with those, as FACEIT himself is pretty prolific as a T-side AWPer on Dust 2. And he's just waiting very, very passively, actually. This is quite cool because this is the kind of round where you could expect G2 to go for an aggression. And it usually would be 2-man push in the upper dark area. And that's why FACEIT is waiting there early into the round. But that timing is kind of gone now, so FACEIT is going to reposition. And the interesting thing here is that there's actually quite a big gamble that there's going to be a play in towards A here from NiP. Let's see if G2 are going to actually be lucky there. They've got Scream on the boost box in CT spawn, so he's going to be very good against B plays, but it does look like the NiP could go both ways at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say with the bomb's position, they could go for the cat drop into a B split, but it seems that might not be the case in this situation. But I mean, the positions for G2 are really good here. Scream's in a position to help if he wants, if he needs to. 40 seconds on the clock now, and again, NiP going back and right and just not making it clear as to what their intentions might be. Perhaps trying to suggest the one action here, but G2 are non-believers.
But they need to make sure that they check for Scream's position there as well as they now move into the A bomb site. And there's lots of players. The guy on Goose is going to be a big problem. The Molotov comes in. Smith hits the first shot there. What else can he get? Oh, Smith with another one. This is great work from him so far, and he can do yet more still with that position. Finally smoked off. But there's only 3 players left for NiP at this point, and shox is still undiscovered in this Goose position. Now is NiP making the final push. Can they make it happen? They need to plant the bomb here. The bomb is going to go down. 2 seconds left, but they get it in, and FACEIT gets it in as well with the AK-47. 2 frags for him. Now Bodyy in a 1 versus 2 with the bomb taken away.
Problem is he's got an AWP. He's got himself a 1 versus 1 because of Friberg's position, but he can't scope fast enough. And that is an insane round there for NiP. That looks very unlikely indeed. Loads of headshots coming in from FACEIT there. Very key kills to hold, especially when they push the site. There are 10 seconds on the clock, Dan, and shox has not even fired a bullet yet in the Goose position. And that just spells disaster for NiP, but somehow they took it over the line there. 2 rounds between these 2 sides now.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. They had really good positions. I mean, they were kind of gambling on it, and they were correct. shox needed to get more done from the Goose spot, and well, now NiP are really back in this match here. They could very realistically force it to a 3rd, which would be Cobblestone, which would be very, very interesting between these 2 teams. Either way, we're going to get another default here from NiP. And it's great that NiP can really play the mind games with G2, because I think most teams understand at this point that NiP have a lot of really crazy, strong set pieces on the A-bomb side. So you can see NiP in that last round, they were really trying to kind of trick G2 that, you know, look, it looks like we're actually going to go B, but in fact we're going to go A. So just kind of faking it out a little bit, and to cause rotation so that they can punish the rotations. And G2 didn't buy it, and they actually had the right read, still lost the round, which is pretty amazing. So what will NiP do this time? They should be aware that the equipment's a bit worse. We might get a bit of push here in upper dark, but NiP are very ready for this. G2 wisely backing away and throwing in a smoke. So no entrance there for NiP. Starting to run low on time, and they need to make a move, and it does seem they are about to try to get into middle here.
Well, that's a nice kill through the smoke onto Xizt. Get right being taken down in the mid position. shox with 2 frags now, moving between A ramp and the CT spawn area. And those are really important kills. Scream's position is not going to be checked here. The trades will come in though, 1 for 1. It's got the CTs coming in towards the tunnel area. There's time for NiP to drop the bomb down, but they need to do it fast before shox gets into position here, because the CTs are going to be on top of them very quickly indeed. And indeed, if Friberg's going to get his bell rung, those are the warning signs. Xizt, oh, he's going to check the wrong angle here. He doesn't realize that somebody's behind him. Smith's, what an angle. He has so much time to play with the clock there. And Friberg is alone now, and there's just not enough help for him to finish things off. G2 playing the clock really well with their positions. Very, very passive indeed, allowing this tease to overextend where they thought they had an advantage. Turns out they didn't. Xizt gets taken down from the back.
Yeah, those 2 kills from shox, as you can see here, is so incredibly important with the FAMAS as well. And that's what gave G2 just enough room to work with to be able to get the retake in a good fashion. Now, it's starting to look pretty tough for NiP because they basically get 1 or 2 good chances more before G2 pretty much win the match, more or less. So let's see if they're able to do something with this. Obviously, they can actually force G2 into an eco if they win this round, which would almost tie them up. So there's still a lot of work to be done here by NiP. And G2 just going to start things off very basic as well. I mean, we're seeing a lot of defaults versus defaults, very early into the round versus, with these 2 teams. NiP really wanting to make G2 have to guess and gamble. And that's what G2 have been doing, but they've honestly been very good at predicting correctly what's going to happen.
Yeah, again, shox has been roaming between CT spawn and A ramp in the previous rounds, and he had his 2 kills through double doors was so key for G2 in holding on that previous round. So we have NiP taking the short position as per usual. Body and screen getting close to the tunnel here. There's a timing here from the CTZ pushing through to B. This could be a massive problem here for NiP, especially with Pit's position. He could get taken down before he even realizes what's going on. GeT_Right's looking for a flank though. So we're going to have a meeting over towards B as this execute comes in towards A.
Yeah, they got the smokes in there, but as you say, they wanted to go back a little bit, and they're going to meet bodyy. GeT_Right goes down straight away. Lurk is out of the picture. Now SmithZz is going to be dropping bodies over towards the A bomb side again. Great work with the AWP, doing exactly what he's been asked of. And now he's still alive, in fact, as Friberg gets the bomb planted. There are players all over the place. What does Friberg do? He's stuck on the bomb site at this point. He's got 1 teammate holding down short. It's Forest. Great shot there from Forest, but he's against 4 more players. Forest needs to get something out of this AWP, but he can't do it. It's going to be G2 with the round. And that was fantastic again from Smith. He's been really solid so far in this A bomb site, and that's so important against a team like NiP that really love those A set pieces.
The bomb plant there is really important for NiP. That's very crucial money, which will allow them to get a much better buy in this particular round. 10 to 14 now. We've got the AWP coming out into Forest once again, and now the reserves have run dry for NiP. If they don't manage to win this round, then they're going to have difficulty against match point here. But for now, they have opportunity. They've got tons of nades, Molotovs and the like. And again, Forest on the big green gun here. We've got some peeking coming in, but he's not falling for the bait just yet. Middle doors will be smoked. So the T's taking their initial map control. No overextension here from G2. No push in the short area for now. GeT_Right harassing towards long. And SmithZz is there for support should it be required.
So once again, slow beginnings to this round. And one thing we haven't seen a lot from NiP is some of those straight up B splits, and I think G2 will be pretty well equipped to deal with that. They have a decent setup, which again, shox in middle. He's been very good at, as you said, kind of moving around and playing dynamically. And one of the reasons why he's got one of the most important positions is because if he's in that spot, he can really make NiP's life very, very hard if they go for that B split. But if he's not there, if he's towards A, then all of a sudden, if there's a B split, there's just nothing going on. And well, we're going to have a quick push coming straight into the A bomb site as NiP try to get it in fast. But again, SmithZz, how does he connect these shots? That is phenomenal. Once again, SmithZz is doing massive work with the AWP. He misses the second shot. Has he done enough? The bomb is going to be planted here, and we get some good coverage from the smokes, but shox is in close.
Yeah, he's waiting for NiP to peek and try and find out what is going on there and then punish them for doing so again. He can play the clock here. They've got time. They've got tons of diffuse kits here. Trades coming in elsewhere, top mid, towards short as well. The T's trying to hold on to short, but it's 1 more person to find there. Forest falling to the flames, and now shox position finally pays off, and Friberg finds himself alone versus 3. G2 really exploiting that diffuse clock to great effect, and they move to match point.
Amazing work from shox. He's so fast on the trigger. Great first bullet accuracy from him, and very smart to just wait there. That's a key play, waiting for his teammates to get into position. 15 to 10. NiP with no money, really. I mean, the bomb plant did help them out quite a lot, so they should actually be able to get something going here. Some rifles, but we can see already, or I can see that GeT_Right has a Tech 9. So there's 3 AKs, a Tech 9, a Galil, and a bunch of grenades. So NiP, previously when they had a round like this where it wasn't an optimal buy, they did go for the A set piece with the wall of smokes, smoking off the cross towards the bomb site as well as the bomb site itself. Have to see if they go for something similar here. Last time again they did it, you know, started out with a default to make things look all normal before heading up that play, making G2 guess. G2 this time they have a Scream and shox close in middle. Which is a little bit of a difference, but Scream's going to go back towards B at the moment, as we've got a bit of harassment there from Get Right towards Long. Just trying to feel out the map at the moment, both teams.
Those are nice Molotovs because it basically forces him all the way out of Long. The other option is to stand right in front of the smoke, and then he's susceptible to being sprayed down, so it just forces him away. Just get out. No, you've had your time. You're done over here. NiP now looking to take a little bit more map control and maybe suggest that they're going to go to A or B. But again, look at the timing. Look at Scream and Bodyy starting to move in towards the B bomb site here, but there are people waiting for them. NiP not committing just yet. They've got a 45 seconds left on the clock here. They need to win that duel, and Bodyy is going to run away and try and hold on to the B bomb site here. Again, time being of the essence now. It's important for him to try and survive. He's holding rough angle from the car position. Only gets one traded, but shox is putting in work elsewhere. Numbers running down here for NiP. shox goes down as well. 2 versus 2 now. RpK and SmithZz out of position.
And Gerrard's very weak there. Good damage put in by shox. He got 2 kills there, very important ones. Now as his teammates try to get into position to coordinate a retake. The smoke will be a bit annoying, but there are flashbangs here to try to circumvent the smokes that have been placed. There is also some time here as the bomb has only recently been planted. G2 will bide their time, waiting for the perfect moment to get in. And here it is, the flash is in there, Friberg's waiting for it. Oh no, he can't get the kill though. It's Get Right, but he's gonna go down as well. That is so huge there for G2, a 16-10 scoreline after a crushing victory against the Swedes on the first map as well. G2, are we seeing a resurgence, or NiP just having a hard day?
Indeed, a very good performance by G2 across 2 maps. And again, these are 2 maps that NiP are strong on as well. But even though NiP didn't have the best of scores in the first half of Dust 2, they managed to get themselves back into the game. But again, I mean, on G2's T side, they just had so many rounds where they played the numbers advantage really well against CTs who are in isolation. And that really allowed them to get enough rounds on the board to take it in the second half here. NiP with 6 rounds in a row after losing the pistol. But it wasn't enough there. G2 taking the next 4. Every round G2 won in the second half was by defuse as well, which is really interesting. So NiP, after their 6 rounds that they won in a row, having a lot of success in those rounds, getting the bomb down, but then unable to hold afterwards. And again, we did note that G2 played the clock on the retakes really, really well.
Yeah, they absolutely did. I mean, G2 looked very tight today. We saw a lot of great tactical play, good team play. I mean, one of the key things as well is that SmithZz has been connecting his shots. And that's really important because we, you know, and we've already talked about how great he can be on Dust 2, and he did switch up his style from the SmithZz of old, you know, back in the old days when he played with MBK and the lads, you know, where he was always playing very aggressively on Dust 2. Now he's you know, plays more reserved. He waits for the angles, but he's hitting the important ones. And we saw that is very key against a team like NiP, because that also plays part in all the defuses that we saw, right? Because NiP get the bombs down, but they don't ever have enough players left because of a guy like SmithZz who's hitting those AWP shots. So some of them are very difficult as well.
Yeah, very strong performance from SmithZz, and it seems that NiP had no answer to him on that car position. And again, as you said, Dan, he's someone who's changed his style over towards Dust 2 on the CT side, maybe because of that nerf with the crouch peeking and such to the AWP, but otherwise he's found his groove. The kills on the G2 side were very well averaged, actually. 3 players on 21 or 22, so very nice by them. And now we'll go to Smix on the stage with Scream.
Thank you very much, James. Congratulations, Scream. You guys eliminate NiP from ECS and continue on at this tournament. It was a very incredibly dominant performance for you guys, especially on Cash, which is considered one of NiP's best maps. So I'm just wondering, prior to this series, did you guys have any special anti-stratting plans, or did you just decide to play your own game?
Yeah, it feels good to win, but we didn't really analyze anything. We just talked together and tried to fix our mistakes we've been doing lately. And yeah, we had really great communication on this game, so that made us win the game.
I know that after the major qualifier, when you guys had some losses there, shox in an interview mentioned that this was actually good for you guys because you guys could focus on the mistakes that you made there to be a better team. So I'm wondering, in the time you had between then and now, what are the sort of things that G2 has been working on?
Well, every game we're learning things, and our main problem is to keep the communication really good, and we try to fix that all the time and when we have our communication on top, I think we can beat anyone.
All right, and of course, coming up next in the decider match, it'll be against Liquid, who you guys played yesterday and lost there. But of course, that was a best of 1. Best of 3 is always very different. So going up against them, what do you think is going to be different?
Yeah, well, I think we just want to take revenge from them from yesterday, of course. And I don't know what's going to be different, but we're just going to play our best and play as we did now, and I think we can win.
All right then, well congratulations again, Scream, and with that it will be G2 moving on to play Liquid in the decider match. Unfortunately for the Ninjas in Pajamas, their road at ECS is over, but until then let's head back to Sir Scoots at the desk.
Thank you very much, Smix. Not what we expected. I think obviously you guys called it 2-1, but again that was pretty dominating performance, especially that first map by G2. No ifs or buts.
I mean, NiP really just rolled over. They just had no answers. They didn't seem like they had any adjustments they could make, especially in cash. They just played far too passive. They never even gave themselves a chance to get into the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, bad economy throughout that first map, and like no aggressive play, not really any answer. Just instead of fighting for map awareness, you just ended up falling back, playing very passive on the bomb sites. And then with G2's economy, they have Molotovs for that. You just instant counter every single round you saw. And yeah, I think it was only the last round that NiP was somewhat of a force buy, just try to do something and try to push, and by then it's way too late.
Yeah, you have, I think, a highlight. Let's do map at a time. So I think you got a highlight or a round you want to break down. You're going to be our Yanko.
Yeah, I'm the temporary weatherman in Yanko's absence.
The temporary weatherman. Which one did you pick? What do you got?
Yeah, so we'll start with Cash. So there was a round, I think it was the 6th round of the first half, where G2 split through. They took over the middle, and they split into B through the vents. And that was a good example, or the prime example, in fact, of NiP's passivity, where they just sat in the site. They didn't really do anything. They allowed G2 to just go in. We can just play the highlight, I guess.
Yeah, we'll roll that. Yep.
So they allowed them to just walk into the site. Now you see G2's, they have full control of everything. They have smoked spawn, smoked top, now they're mollying the site, and there's just nowhere NiP can go. They're basically just forcing them to take these unfavorable duels, and now as you see the molly getting, I mean, NiP were lucky to get these 2 kills. This is actually the best case scenario that could have basically happened for them. And then shox hit a couple nice shots here to close it. But that was just a good example of how they were just too passive. Like
yeah. And we saw that again and again throughout this first half of NiP, just extremely passive. This was just one round, but you can go back and like pretty much rewatch every take that G2 did on actually both of the bomb sites. And NiP were just trying to dodge Molotovs, just hoping that G2 would just not hit those headshots. And we were talking about that in the pregame. That is like when these guys are on, they have these two amazing players, and then as long as they have this third person, well, I believe it was RpK on the first map. Yeah, you have to come up with something. You can't just hope that you're going to win the duels, because we're at this point in time now in CSGO where it's like everyone has great aim, and if someone's on point, then you're going to have to figure out another different approach.
And I mean, frankly, some of the rounds that NiP lost were just unacceptable. There was a round where RpK just basically bulldozed his way into B, where he just walked by himself, took 2 aim duels one at a time with no help from NiP's side, just beat them both, just give him a free round. Like, that should not be happening, especially not on cash for NiP.
Yeah, and again, looking at watching the match, it certainly wasn't like G2 was like playing out of their minds and NiP just couldn't get it going. Like, just NiP couldn't get it going. Like, G2 was playing their game.
Yeah, G2 played well.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, one thing that I think they're underestimated or not really appreciated for is they obviously have good communication. I don't think it's as bad as maybe Scream. So I'm actually very worried about their communication. But I mean, that's why they can play the skill-heavy style. Like, that's why your NiP could rely on that, because you need to have really good teamwork, really good communication. That's the foundation that you build like a skill-reliant playing style on, and that's what they have. But the problem is, if you don't let them do the things they like to do, that's when they have nothing to fall back on. But NiP let them play their game. They let them do everything they wanted, take all the duels in the world that they wanted, and that's the result, frankly, if you can't match them in firepower.
Yeah, and you had that interview with Flusha, and he basically said, we read them like a book. So like, they're not the only one that can possibly read them like a book. Now,
yeah, no, I was just gonna go back to actually the game they played yesterday as well versus Luminosity. We saw the same tendency on their CT side even then on Train, where instead of trying to gain some map control, like doing these pushes maybe together, instead, they just fell back, played very passive, let Luminosity do whatever they wanted. And that's, a team like G2, that's exactly what they want. They're a very straightforward team. They don't have if you compare, like Lurp was saying pre-game, these are two very different teams. You have NiP that's very, strat heavier nowadays. They do their executes and then they just push in. Whereas for G2, they take it as a go, right? They send one guy in, maybe even two, depending on who has a good spawn. They gain control, as that clip we saw in checker room, all of B, and then once they're there, it's like, well, okay, what do we have? Well, we have a bunch of mollies. Smoke off spawn, Molotov site, and just wait for them to, they have to be forced out to take those duels, right? G2 did that again and again, and if you don't have an answer to that, if you don't push back and stop them, this is exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, and then, so obviously, a drubbing on map 1. So they go into map 2, and it's literally Groundhog Day again. Again, 11-4 start for G4. Second side, obviously much closer, makes it much closer at the end. But again, it seemed like much of the same, second map.
Well, we actually have a good highlight as from the second map, which sums up their problem. So this was the exact textbook example of being too passive on Dust 2. They even get a team kill at first, but NiP falls back. They don't have control of Catwalk. They're only semi-playing long. And at this point, Robin's not even looking at the screen. He's looking at his phone. He's like, oh, it's a round for NiP. He looks back up in 10 seconds. He's like, what? What happened? Because they basically all get stuck in the site and just got caught in the middle of a crossfire.
Yep.
And that's not how you can ever win rounds on A. I mean, granted, G2 also hit some crazy shots there.
Yeah, no, but like, the thing is,
that should have been a closer round that it ended up being. They shouldn't have been just kill everybody like that. But that was a mistake by NiP's part to actually allow them to even get into that position in the first place.
No, and this is the same thing as if you were, because this was an answer you go on, sure, G2 4 spot, but even if they were to have weapons here, this is always the talking point, how you rotate on Dust 2 on the CT side. You have to make a very quick decision. You either fight long when they start flashing out, or you fall back and you take control of something else. You don't fall back just towards the bomb site, because sooner you're gonna get sandwiched. You saw that here, and if they would have done the same round, for example, on the weapon round, it would have been the same scenario. They came out long, and then you're stuck in seed spawn and people on site, 2 on site. They just end up getting wrecked, right? They end up dying. You have full long control, you have full cat control, get the bomb down, and the only thing that the CTs have, it's CT spawn, right? So that there has to be a straight communication right there. It's like, okay, we're not fighting long, let's boost up cat, let's waste a bunch of nades, let's take over something and leave them with long. You would have had a much better chance of actually winning that round. And it goes back to weapon rounds as well. You have to if you lose control of a certain area of the map, you have to regain it somewhere else.
Well, that's why you always have to have someone who just calls, we're going to commit somewhere. We either fight long until we just do whatever we can. If we die, we die. But we at least try to hold long. At least maybe we get a couple of kills, make the retake more bearable, or we just buckle down on cat. I mean, I think G2 actually had one person only on catwalk. So if they rotated back and just took over catwalk, they'd probably take catwalk. They can flank long, and it's a very favorable retake. It's a very doable round considering G2's weaponry. But I mean, I think a big part of that is NiP. They don't have the type of leadership in game outside of threat. Like, you need to have people who can just make those quick decisions. Sometimes you just got to make a call, because that's a good example where I'm not sure if it's a better call to take long, better call to go cat. You have to decide something. You can't just sit there and just wait for someone else to make a
indecision will get you killed for sure. Any on the second half, obviously much closer. NiP was trying to mount a comeback, but too little, too late. Anything jump out on that second half for you guys?
Well, there were a couple sloppy rounds where NiP went on top of catwalk and their smokes weren't quite where they were needed to be. There were a little crack that allowed SmithZz to get a couple of freebies. It just looked like somewhat careless plays. NiP just wasn't there. Like, that just wasn't the team that we saw.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And yeah, sure, we were going over to their terrorist side, but just to note on seat side as well, we're talking about, like, you have to have this one guy that is basically running the reins, and people always stress enough to say, oh yeah, well, that's what you have an in-game leader for. The thing is, when you play the CT side, essentially you cut that map in half, and you actually have 2 leaders on that side. You have one on each bomb site that is the one that's taking charge. So you have one guy on the A bomb side. He's like, okay, they're pushing out long. So instead of rather having 3 guys there, for example, try and make a different call. You work together. You're like, okay, well, you do a good job in actually telling us what to do, right? So that could be anyone. It could be GetRight. It could be Force. It could be Xizt. Doesn't really matter. Same goes on the B bomb side. If they end up, you see a B split. Instead of having one guy aim towards out middle and one in towards B, maybe it's better to flash out and fight for mid and maybe kill those 2-3 people there and just retake the bomb side, or do it the other way around. Like, you push into B tunnel, you fight there, but you got to do it together. And that's where the communication lacks. And that's probably one of the points the screen was talking about. It's not only communication on the T side. It's actually a lot of communication goes into play on the CT side.
Sure.
But yes, as far as on NiP's T side, yes, They did start to climb back a little bit. Dust 2 is a very hard map if you don't have your economy going in your advantage, and G2 didn't really have that. They were quite smart in the beginning, lost a few crucial rounds where they just ended up missing shots. But the NiP's A executes actually were very sloppy. Yeah, you have the missed smokes, but then on top of that, you have 1 or 2 flashbangs come in and nothing else. That's why you saw again and again SmithZz just getting these 1-2 kills on that A bomb site and just falling back, playing it safe, and just leaves. You know, they still have long control, and then the retake comes in for G2, and it's really nothing for NiP's part there. It's just very hard to deal with.
And I mean, in a way, NiP's after plans on the A side really were very similar to their problem in Cash. I mean, they sort of just got stuck in the site.
Yeah.
They had one guy in Goose, like one guy in Cat, other guys on top of side. But G2 were flanking Cat. SmithZz basically lived the entire round by car. shox was by spawn, just waiting for someone to peek long. And NiP just never, like, they got the after plans. Normally that really favors you once they get the bomb down.
Yeah.
But every single time it felt like NiP got the bomb down, and we were like, oh, I think G2 wins this round.
Yeah.
Some of the time NiP wins, and you're like, oh, okay, well, you know, it was a good round. But they just never really got into favorable positions.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then, you know, considering like how we saw them at DreamHack Masters, for example, or even before that, you know, with the additional threat, this looked like, yeah, it's a very sloppy NiP. Not really knowing like the game plan coming into was probably very off. And I'm very like I would love to hear what's the reason of that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I'd ask you to guess, who do you think our Jason Bourne MVP of the match is?
I think Scream.
Oh no. It's the one we always talk about.
shox.
shox is going to be the guy. Again, that is in theaters July 29th, so you definitely want to check that out.
That was a one-tap?
I wish Matt Damon was here watching with us. Unfortunately, he's not.
He's not. No, I think actually throughout the series, like G2, and we always stress this enough, you have to have shox show up, and he was also very good this half, and also Scream as well. These were the two go-to guys for G2. Both of them, I think shox had like 20 kills in the first game, and Scream had like 21 or something. And then for second game, Scream had like also like over 20, probably 22. Just these two players just open up areas in maps, and it just makes it very hard to deal with.
And going back to what you were talking about previous about breaking down the map and how you have to have people call on CT sides as well, which, by the way, it's surprising how few people can actually do that in matches. Like, you wouldn't think how hard that is for some people, or most people. But it's the same thing with shox. I mean, he's one of those guys that everybody always says that he sort of just checks out sometimes, right? If his team isn't doing well, they're having problems. But he's the guy on that team. He's always, everybody says, he's the mid-round guy. He makes those calls. So that's why also he has a lot of those intangibles that we often talk about that you can't really, I mean, you just can't quantify because you only know them if you're playing with them.
Yeah.
But he's the guy who also needs to make the right calls on top of playing well. So even if he doesn't top frag, he probably still is by far the most important player on that team.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree. Especially on a map like Dust 2. That's, yeah, Xizt is in the beginning, you know, he did a pre-game call, or, you know, pre-round calls maybe just default. shox is the one taking over control, right?
Yeah.
He's the one going cat. Maybe he gets one. He's like, actually, this is the guy that I killed, and he's B-rotated. Why don't we split B? You know, he's the, and that's one of the main point or reasons why G2 is having these, you know, success games versus they're not consistent, but they can show up from time to time, and it's calls like that, and on top of that, people just showing up.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Well, that's going to do it for this segment. Again, G2 will move forward. They will play later on today Team Liquid. Ninjas in Pajamas, unfortunately, will be no longer in the tournament. They will be watching. But our next match, gonna be a barn burner, maybe. Astralis will be taking on Cloud9 when we come back after this break.
Do you play